You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the hosts or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
E.R.A.S.E is an organization. It's a movement. We're talking about unity. We're talking about unity. So we're aimed to taking down the system of race by educating, enlightening, informing, and positively debating with those who have counterviews.
And welcome to Talk About Unity once again here at Edge Radio TV Network. I'm just saying, we're talking about unity here this morning. We're excited to be here this morning. And I'm in the studio this morning with Richard, and we've got no need for headphones. It's just me and Richard chopping it up today. And we got a lot to talk about because we're talking about, in today's show, dissecting division. You know, there's a lot of hate going on in our country. And so today we're going to talk about dissecting that division. What's making that happen? And we've got a real life epic event that took place, and that was Tim Scott's response to the president's address to Congress.
Wow.
And we're going to analyze that, and we're going to see how division gets fomented out of some of these things. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be an educational session on division and how it happens in our country. Everybody knows there's a lot of that division happening. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Going to give you a little bit of education to go along with that so that you can start discerning some of the division that's happening in our country. So in the words of the immortal Marvin Gaye, Richard, what's going on? What else is happening out there? We're going to talk about some other things.
Too much hate.
Too much hate.
That's what's going on in America today is way too much hate. You know, we run to the answers, right? We talk about the solutions. We get out there. So we're going to talk about the answers, which is, I believe, number one. So we give the answer, and we're going to talk about the problem and go back to the answer. So I believe the answer is there's not enough honor. We need to head back to honor. Find something good to say about people and situations. And honor up, honor down, honor all the way around. Catch young people doing something good, honor that. Catch people that are not so young doing something good, those that are in authority, say something, honor it, celebrate it. You might find out that they like that, and they may actually start doing more of that. So, but some of the stuff that's really dividing us today is this. Of course, we have police officers that need more training. We understand that. Some tragedies have happened over the last few years and caused a lot of upheaval in the community. But I don't think there's enough publicity towards the good things that are happening. Yesterday, there was this officer that actually several officers showed up, and this is in Atlanta. This guy was having convulsions. He was really having I don't know if it's an epileptic episode. Something was going on where he was unconscious. He wrecked his car. His car is on fire at a gas station of all places. They run to the car, can't get his door open for whatever reason. Bust the window, still can't get the door open. Several officers, they're running with fire extinguishers. They pull this gentleman out of the car. He made it. He's fine. Man, I don't know. Why isn't that on every news station? Why? Because there's too much hate. Everybody's hating on him, man. We need to be saying, yay, thank you, officers, for actually doing something for not just doing something good, for doing good things that people aren't recognizing, but you still do them anyway.
So maybe we need to change our show to call it, or Edge Radio needs to become the Good News Network. The good news.
What would be wrong with that?
Well, and it would be counter to all the other news, because all the other news is fomenting hate.
And this hate.
Somebody got to bring
and
good news.
This was all over the radio this morning as well. Several different broadcasts were showing this. This officer pulls over this lady because not that she was speeding, she was going 38 and a 40. But she was distracted driving. She was all over the road, committed all these traffic infractions.
Oh, that's what my wife says I always do, but okay.
Oh, yeah. So John gets alongside of her and, just showing her you can't be using your cell phone, pulls her over, and she's like, well, you killed, you're a murderer. And she
says this to the police?
To the police officer. And his demeanor was so calm, professional, had his body cam working. It was on. So before he even gets back to the station, she had already called internal affairs and reported him for being harassing and being violent towards her. He says, well, here's my footage. Didn't get in any trouble. I can't believe he just did not write her out for all those tickets. But you know what? He handled his business. He did not let hate win. That's the thing. And so much hate. Tell me when to stop, because I got a lot of people just hating. And
we're going to the break.
The situation with Mitt Romney, he's making this speech. Did you hear this? He's there.
Oh,
it's like the
the
Republicans
booing.
are all getting together and they're doing this and man, everybody is booing out Mitt Romney. They just booing him. It's like, oh man, I don't know what we're going to do about this, but he tried to hold it together. But there's a lot of hate in the Republican Party towards Mitt. All I can say is let's all try to act a little bit more responsible, a little bit more honorable. There needs to listen. This old pastor who's growing out his old white beard, I'm just telling you. Well,
Richard's got the beard look today.
I am
What's
going
up,
to be
man?
praying a whole lot more for our politicians to go back to a place of being honorable. Let's be honorable people. Let's lead our country by example.
Maybe the citizens need to start electing those type of people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of us. But maybe more than that, even maybe the citizens need to be those type of people.
Yeah.
Maybe we're electing who we are. What about that? Maybe we're electing who we are. So maybe we're getting what we deserve. Maybe that's the way a democratic republic was supposed to be. We elect people that mirror us so that we can get what we deserve. Woo! Okay.
Just like Michael Jackson says, I'm looking at the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm asking him to change his ways.
All right, if we're not at break yet, you got any more? Any more? Because if you got some more, otherwise I'm going to bring Beckett up so Beckett can get on one time before we go to our real subject.
Okay, so real quick. I think we just need to be open and honest, respectful, honorable, and stop hating on each other about the mask. We are slowly but surely making progress. People are getting vaccinated. People are recovering from sickness. Much fewer hospitalizations and deaths because of corona. But let's just own it. Let's find out what works and let's do that. Some of these games that are being played with the mask is a little bit offensive to me personally. I just saw the Texas A&M band. Did y'all see these? It's out there. Go look at this. Google this or Bing this or whatever, Microsoft it, whatever, Edge it, whatever. Go say Texas A&M marching band wearing mask, and you'll see the band. And I love the band. I was in the band. I'm still in the band, but I was in the band back in the day. What caused me to get in the band? I just squirreled for a second. Was the Prairie View A&M marching band. When I saw them swinging it coming down the road, just found their groove in the middle of the street, I said, I got to be a part of that someday. Anyway, go back to Texas A&M. These band members are having a semblance of like they're trying to protect or honor the community, so they're wearing a mask, but they got a big old hole cut out in the middle of their mouth, so that in the middle where their mouth goes, so they can play their instrument. I'm like, come on, that just sends a mixed message.
Not only just a mixed message, but it shows either the inefficacy of the mask, because it means they really don't matter, or it means we're just doing stupid things. Because I said we could have a segment. Maybe we'll do this next week on the show. We'll have a segment talking about stupid COVID things. Stupid, because here's one that I can't get over, and I want somebody to explain this. I may have to go to Vince here and look over at Vince and get this. Yeah. So you're watching the NBA, and it was the same thing that was happening in college, but especially in the NBA. They're out on the court, rubbing up against each other. They're playing basketball, opponent against opponent. Basically closest you can get. All right. They go back to the sidelines. They mask up and they socially distance. Are you kidding me? What is that? I mean, all right. And I'm talking about unity, and we got Pastor Richard here.
No, wait.
But, I wasn't gonna say it, but it's kind of like like protection from sex after the act. It's like
Oh, okay. So I was with you in the beginning, and like they're supposed to social distance with the people they haven't quarantined with because they kind of live in a bubble. But they were going back to the bench and quarantining, or against each other.
Against each other.
Oh, that doesn't even
socially distancing from each other.
Yeah.
And putting masks on the sideline. I mean, you just don't get more stupid than that. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so I got to calm myself down real quick. I got to get back to the solution.
Because after this, we're gonna go to that break. All right.
We have to get back to the solution, and is it really moving back to a place of honor and just treating people with respect in the community. Make the first move towards kindness. You see somebody at the grocery store, open up the door for them. Somebody at the gym, they need some help re-racking their weights, or ladies on the leg press machine, and somebody left all the 45-pound plates on.
Mm-hmm.
You go over there and help her take those weights off. You might get a thank you, you might not, but you know what? It will be appreciated whether somebody says it or not.
It's really good.
So at the gym or grocery store, be the first one to say hi. Don't wait for somebody. Oh, they're not going to say hi to me. Well, how do you know? We had an instance this morning. We were my wife and I were going to the gym, from the gym to the car. This gentleman was coming across the parking lot and looked like he had a lot on his mind. And I was going to say hi, but Amy said hi before I did, and he was down on his phone, just distracted. And she says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he put the phone down and goes, "I'm doing great. How are you?" I mean, I'm just like, you know what? We got to get it out of our head that people aren't going to respond to us, and just make the first move. Just be kind. Just smile. Say hello, and you'll be amazed how better your day can be when we move away from hate and we move towards kindness.
That's great, and you get a lot of that. I'd say you get more of that in Texas than you do some of the other states. And having toured all 48 states or been in 49, yeah, that's pretty much true. So, but we can do that everywhere we go. Some people don't do that even in Texas, but we need to do that. All right, so we're going to cut and go to break and come back with the real deal after this. And by the way, because what Richard's whole topic, he's the pastor here, but that's Hebrews 10:24, which says, "Let us consider one another to provoke unto love and good works." Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. Can you provoke people to love? Can you provoke people to do good? That's what we're trying to do. So, hey, but we're going to get into our subject today, dissecting division with Tim Scott. We're going to do that as soon as we come back from this break right here on Talk About Unity.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information. And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes...
Here's what I want to do. We're talking about EMFs, which are electromagnetic fields. Mm-hmm. Those are man-made frequencies from our cell phones, microwaves, etc. Okay? Well, this is the way I feel. First of all, scalar energy was not invented, it was discovered. It's in the environment, just like we have gravity. Okay, gravity's part of what makes this Earth function. So is scalar energy and negative ions. Okay,
Yeah.
well, so what I take this, and I'm putting this wristband right here on your drink.
Okay.
Okay, and I just want to stir this around in there for a little bit. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I just want you to take a sip. Okay, you got a sip? Put your arms back out. Lift your leg and resist me.
Oh my God, this is real, y'all.
Okay, so when I mentioned we were talking about doing ingestibles, now grab your cell phone,
Superwoman.
open it, unlock your phone,
Okay. There we go.
put it to your head, put it down, put your arms back out, lift your leg, resist me.
This is ridiculous.
Your phone took it away.
Right, so
I
the EMFs
swear.
of the phone take that right away, okay? And so
And we're back here to talk about unity. And I didn't even notice that my grandson here had on the same color as we have on. So the blue is matching. So he's ready on the set. And we just brought him in at the beginning here of the set before we dig into our subject matter today. And so you see yourself on the screen. So tell him who you are. Tell him who you are.
My name is Beckett.
Yep. So he's saying his name is Beckett. And so, Beckett's here with me in the studio today watching. And he's getting some of this talk about unity, trying to make sure he learns how to dissect division, which is what we're going to do on the show today. All right. So he's showing his muscles. Beckett's got to show his muscles. All right. Say bye-bye, Beckett, so you can go back.
Bye-bye.
All right. We'll see you,
later.
Beckett. All right. Go down there. Just all right.
He's
All
a
right.
natural.
Yeah. That's Beckett. All right, so let's dig into our topic for today. We got Senator Tim Scott's video, and what we've done is we've broken it down into 3 sections, and so we're gonna actually play that video. We're gonna let you get in a chance to analyze it as you watch it, and then after we do each section, we're gonna come back and we're gonna dissect that, and we're gonna analyze it a little bit and say what was said, say wasn't said that maybe is having an effect in our society. So we'll talk about that. So let's go ahead, and if you could, Vince, let's go ahead and get to that video clip 1.
Good evening. I'm Senator Tim Scott from the great state of South Carolina. We just heard President Biden's first address to Congress. Our president seems like a good man. His speech was full of good words, but President Biden promised you a specific kind of leadership. He promised to unite a nation, to lower the temperature, to govern for all Americans, no matter how we voted. This was the pitch. You just heard it again. But our nation is starving for more than empty platitudes. We need policies and progress that brings us closer together. But 3 months in, the actions of the president and his party are pulling us further and further apart. I won't waste your time with finger pointing or partisan bickering. You can get that on TV anytime you want. I want to have an honest conversation about common sense and common ground, about this feeling that our nation is sliding off its shared foundation and how we move forward together. Growing up, I never dreamed I would be standing here tonight. When I was a kid, my parents divorced. My mother, my brother, and I moved in with my grandparents. 3 of us sharing 1 bedroom. I was disillusioned and angry, and I nearly failed out of school. But I was blessed. First, with a praying mama. And let me say this, to the single mothers out there who are working their tails off, working hard, trying to make the ends meet, wondering if it's worth it, you can bet it is. God bless. your amazing effort on the part of your kids. I was also blessed by a Chick-fil-A operator, John Moniz, and finally with a string of opportunities that are only possible here in America. This past year, I've watched COVID attack every rung of the ladder that helped me up. So many families have lost parents and grandparents too early. So many small businesses have gone under. Becoming a Christian transformed my life, but for months, too many churches were shut down. Most of all, I'm saddened that millions of kids have lost a year of learning when they could not afford to lose a single day. Locking vulnerable kids out of the classroom is locking adults out of their future. Our public schools should have reopened months ago. Other countries did. Private and religious schools did. Science has shown for months that schools are safe. But too often, powerful grown-ups set science aside, and kids like me were left behind. The clearest case I've seen for school choice in our lifetimes, because we know that education is the closest thing to magic in America. Last year, under Republican leadership, we passed 5 bipartisan COVID packages. Congress supported our schools, our hospitals, saved our economy, and funded Operation Warp Speed, delivering vaccines in record time. All 5 bills got 90 votes in the Senate. Common sense found common ground. In February, Republicans told President Biden we wanted to keep working together to finish this fight. But Democrats wanted to go it alone. They spent almost $2 trillion on a partisan bill that the White House bragged was the most liberal bill in American history. Only 1% went to vaccinations, no requirement to reopen schools promptly. COVID brought Congress together 5 times. This administration pushed us apart.
All right, so we're back, and so that's the first section of and there's a lot of ground covered in that intro. You know, you got him talking about his background and some of the hardship that he faced as a youngster, but he also talked about the common ground that he's trying to build. I know he did that while talking about some of the president's actions that have seemed not to bring that common ground. How would you evaluate what he said in that first part of his speech there? What would you think?
Well, number one, he is a breath of fresh air to politics right now. To say the words common sense and common ground and actually head towards solutions, you know, it's one thing because platitudes and empty promises or what, I forget the exact phrase. But Tim, man, too bad we can't have all of Washington think more along those lines, because I believe that's the only way we're going to get on the other side of this thing. You know, the contrast to what he said was what we saw on that first night we see President Biden at his desk, and there was that stack, I think it was 34 executive orders on the desk. Number one question I had was, when did he have time to think about that and write that? Somebody wrote that, and all he did was sign it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. But these executive orders, simply, every time you see an executive order, it says one thing to me. It says we could not find common sense and common ground, so we have to bypass the normal legislative process, and we have to go it alone, and we're going to just, regardless of what the will of the people is and what everybody else on the other side of the aisle has to say, we're just going to go our own way. But this whole message, man, everybody needs to preach that. Common sense, common ground. What a great, not only story that he told about his own life, but the story that he's telling about what he wants to see happen in Washington is a beautiful thing.
Now, one of the things that happened as a result of some of the statements he made there, that immediately then they had a group of people who said they were going to fact check. And one of the things that they found when they fact checked, and they tried to state that his life wasn't that hard. It wasn't hard enough. What do you think that says? I mean, that fact, number one, that, and of course the fact checking said his life probably wasn't that hard because his grandparents owned land. So his life couldn't have been hard. And so they used that. But what do you think about the idea, the simple idea that they would, number one, fact check this guy on his upbringing. What is it kind of saying? What was their motive there?
They're immediately trying to attack his credibility. If they can attack his credibility, they can attack the message in which the message that he's actually preaching to the American citizen on the rebuttal to Biden's speech. That's all they're trying to do is just attack his credibility, find holes in his story. Which, if he's not honest about this one thing, then he's probably not honest about anything. So, which is terrible. To be all of a sudden as a young person, where I don't know exactly what age he was at when his mom and dad got a divorce, but my parents, my own story, were married, divorced. They remarried each other, and they were divorced again. Then they married other people, and he actually said the thoughts of despair and wanting to give up, not really wanting to apply himself. I'm glad he didn't let that win. Tim went and moved in with grandma. Yeah, we moved in with grandma. Understand that whole thing, and to say for anybody to equate it wasn't hard enough. If you haven't lived in those shoes, you just need to sit back, take a seat, and just be quiet, because there's a lot of people that can relate exactly to what he's saying.
And that is why I think it's so important, these terms, and people will jump all over it when they hear that when I say there's no such thing as white privilege. There is only privilege. And people get privilege in varying amounts, and it goes across. For us to put that in a race box and feel like there's something that they have that others don't have, there are a lot of people who experience and endure hardship just as you do wherever you are. And I think that's one of the points that he makes when he begins talking about those. But the other side of that is a lot of it has to do with perspective, because so many of those things, he talked about the opportunity that he had, that his grandmother offered, and you'll get some more of that later on as he begins the discussion. But he sees it through a different lens, and he sees it as something that built his character, that enabled him. If we begin, and this is just educational for everybody out there, if you see your hardship as only debilitating and making you incapable, then you don't understand the purpose of your hardship. The purpose of your hardship is to build you. I do fitness, and I lift weights. That strength, that extra resistance that I put on that weight bar isn't meant to kill me.
No.
It's not meant to keep me from doing. It's meant to build me, to make me stronger so that I can lift the weights coming, so I can add more weight eventually. And so it's a good thing. And people would say, what you're trying to say, slavery was good, slavery was good. Hey, however the hardship enters your life, the question for you is, are you going to use it to build, or are you going to use it to tear down? So those are the challenges of life. And so I get that from Tim Scott as he's talking there. A lot of good things he said, but he talked about some very practical things that are happening out there now. And he talked about how he got help from people. There are people in your lives that come along besides you. You talked about a Chick-fil-A operator who gave him a job. There are lots of people out there willing to help if you're willing to see it. But we bring in this idea, and of course we'll talk about unity. We bring in this idea of race, and we don't see people because we don't talk to certain people and we don't realize we're shortchanging ourselves. All right, so that's my spin on that. There was a lot of good things. And then he talked about the ultimate pastor, where he said Christianity transformed his life.
That's right.
That's right. And so that was a really big one. He said Christianity transformed his life. What do you say, Pastor?
It absolutely does. Who I am today versus who I was at 15, 16, when everything the wheels were off the wagon and on fire. It was
You mean
a mess.
You were a teenager?
Oh, no, not just a teenager. I was acting out. There was some
yeah,
things
we call that being a teenager.
Some stuff, and I'm not going to throw them all out there, but some injustices and some things that hit my life that should have never hit a 15-year-old male. And I just acted out from, stuff that a lot of people are addicted to today, to the violence, and just anyway, a lot of really bad stuff. And I'm so glad. Had a friend, he was my doubles tennis partner in high school, Steve Heimel, and he was trying to help me out. It's like, man, you're spinning. He didn't say you're spinning out of control, but what he did through his actions was he knew I was spinning out of control. He said, man, I'm going to church. I'm going to church tomorrow. Why don't you go to church with me? Man, I don't want to go to church. He goes, oh, come on, just one time. And then he brought me to church, and the second time I was there, I knew that's where I was supposed to be. And I've been there since 1983. Whoa! So, and now I'm the pastor of that church.
Oh, now that's a great story.
Yeah.
Great story. So that's a prime example of how hardship and some of these bad things we go through can be the very tools God uses to bring us where he wants us. And so good story there, Richard. And hey, what we're going to do is we're going to come back. We're going to go to the next clip, and you got some more of Tim Scott coming up on Talk About Unity right after this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters.
Come on.
And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad. Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk About Unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin B.
And I'm Dr. Kiva.
And we just want to know
How you living?
Join us every Monday
At noon Central Standard Time.
here on Edge Radio TV. Take care.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we're back to this episode of Talk About Unity here at Edge Radio TV Network. And I tell you what, that first one was really good as we talked about Tim Scott. And so that's what we're doing today. We're dissecting division. A lot of hate happening in America. And we're dissecting some of that division today so that we can analyze it, because that's one of the big things that I always talk to people about. When I get into these discussions, and you know, there's a lot of arguments out on Facebook, and I try to get people to let's sit down and let's talk.
Yeah.
Let us reason together.
Let us reason.
Let us reason. And that's so tough to do, to get people to really reason. And I think that's what has to happen. So that's what we're doing today on Talk About Unity. We're dissecting this division that's happening. And we're using to play this clip too, and then we're gonna have some more discussion about that. So I'm sure you'll have some viewpoints on this one, because this one is where he dropped the bomb about what America is. And so we're gonna go ahead and start. And so Vince, if you could cue up that clip too and let it roll for us.
Good evening. Even more taxing, they won't even build bridges to build bridges. Less than 6% of the president's plan goes to roads and bridges. It's a liberal wish list of big government waste, plus the biggest job-killing tax hikes in a generation. Experts say when all is said and done, it would lower wages of the average American worker and shrink our economy. Tonight, we also heard about a so-called family plan, even more taxing, even more spending, to put Washington even more in the middle of your life, from the cradle to college. The beauty of the American dream is that families get to define it for themselves. We should be expanding opportunities and options for all families, not throwing money at certain issues because Democrats think they know best. Infrastructure spending that shrinks our economy is not common sense. Weakening our southern borders and creating a crisis is not compassionate. The president is also abandoning principles he's held for decades. Now he says your tax dollars should fund abortions. He's laying groundwork to pack the Supreme Court. This is not common ground. Nowhere do we need common ground more desperately than in our discussions of race. I have experienced the pain of discrimination. I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around the store while I'm shopping. I remember every morning at the kitchen table, my grandfather would open the newspaper and read it, I thought. But later I realized he had never learned to read it. He just wanted to set the right example. I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege because a relative owned land generations before my time. Believe me, I know firsthand our healing is not finished. In 2015, after the shooting of Walter Scott, I wrote a bill to fund body cameras. Last year, after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I built an even bigger police reform proposal. But my Democratic colleagues blocked it. I extended an olive branch. I offered amendments, but Democrats used a filibuster to block the debate from even happening. My friends across the aisle seemed to want the issue more than they wanted a solution. But I'm still working. I'm hopeful that this will be different. When America comes together, we've made tremendous progress, but powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is...
And we're back. You're listening to that. That's Tim Scott. That's the second part of his response to President's address to Congress on last week. And you heard some very key things that he talked about there. He talked a lot. Once again, he went back to his background, and that one of newspaper tried to say that he wasn't, of course, as poor as he explained, and that he didn't go from cotton to Congress in one lifetime. And so he kind of made the case there. But hey, at the end of that, he really dropped the bomb. That is the bomb that says that everybody's been talking about, because he made the statement, America is not a racist country. So what do you think about that, Richard? Tell us what you think. America is not a racist country. That's what he said.
I think we're making progress, but I think we got a long way to go before we can say that we're not a racist country. Nearly every day.
So would you say he shouldn't have said that, or what do you think?
No, I think it's okay to say that. I just think that we still need to make a lot more progress. We're not near as racist as we used to be. At least I don't
so
think
he should
we
have said,
are.
America's not as racist.
Yeah, I think that's what he should have said. I think that's a more accurate statement. I think maybe his lens, what he's looking at, maybe he doesn't experience racism in his world.
Well, now he gave several circumstances how he's followed around the grocery store. He's been stopped, and he even expanded further on that when they asked him afterwards. They said he's been stopped 18 times. He felt like unwarranted by police.
Okay. So what we can say is, if he would have had this conversation with you, then he would have realized we need to make a lot more progress. That's why we're doing what we're doing today. Is because we are confronting racism, and there's some people that they completely don't have a clue. In some people's lens and some people's perspective, I've actually heard this with my own ears, and my jaw dropped and my head spun around and turned on fire. As he said, only white people can be racist.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? Every walk of life, when you treat somebody differently because of the color of their skin, you're a racist. You're absolutely a racist. And the verbiage, and maybe you're gonna, I don't want to get too far ahead, but when they call him Uncle Tim as a type of Uncle Tom, I mean, that's totally, the word coon and Uncle Tom and other words like those are totally derogatory, racist terms. And I believe some of those terms are used to, what's the phrase that some people use, is that we're trying to keep everybody to toe the line and preach the same message. Well, I love that there is diversity in every community, and when we come together and we can talk and find places of agreement and common ground, which is a word he's using, you know what? We can move more and more and more into diversity and away from racism in all elements.
Yeah, and so this is where I have to step in and throw down the erase card and talk about the fact that all of these terms and everything that everybody uses here, they all happen inside the racial paradigm.
They do.
And so if someone makes a statement such as Tim Scott made, it can only be defended inside the racial paradigm, because if I'm going to make a defense for him, or if I'm going to come against it, I can only have those arguments inside the racial paradigm. So that's why we talk about erasing race here on Talk About Unity, because if you go to another realm, it's almost like we were talking about before, the Matrix. We use the Matrix. You take the red pill or the blue pill, you can change things. You get open to the real world that's happening if you take the red pill. If you take the blue pill, then we can continue to have these fights. We can continue to argue about whether or not this is racist, whether or not we're a racist country, and we make no progress because we just have these discussions, these fights, and it really means nothing. So I try to sometimes answer these things inside of the paradigm so that I can relate to people, but getting them to understand that the answer is exiting the paradigm.
Yes.
And so I've got this great quote that I try to use for people when people start saying that police, unfairly shoot, kill black men and things like that. And I ask them this question. I ask them this question. I got a great graphic coming up that I'm going to use this quote. And I say, if skin color continues to matter to us, are we shocked that it matters to others? So if it really does, if it matters to us, why are we shocked that other people use it?
Or appalled.
Yeah, we're appalled that, wow, they did this to them because of their skin color. You do things because of your skin color. You're thinking of your skin color because of things. So why are you appalled? I have my organization, which is all of my people, and they do things because they have their people, and we're shocked that we have consequences because of skin color. We gotta erase race. So that's my pitch here on Talk About Unity. But let me cover some of the other things that he talked about there specifically. He started out talking about, he used a great quote. He said, they won't build bridges to build bridges, and just saying how there's got to be this essence of what's working together. And so here our show is Talk About Unity. And all the dialogue we have, I don't care, even if you do stand adamantly opposed to some of the things that I articulate, the bottom line is I want to bring you to the table. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to have a conversation with you. And so that's what we do. That's why our show is Talk About Unity, because that's what we try to do here. Regardless of where you, because you might say, you're stupid, you might call me names. My next statement is going to be one that says, okay, well, let's talk about that. You think I'm stupid? Let's have a conversation about that, because I believe through this dialogue, we're going to understand each other. And even at the end, you leave saying, yep, he's as stupid as I thought. At least we've had an opportunity to understand each other.
I wonder how many people actually knew that Tim brought about legislation or presented legislation to address some of the things that he was talking
Yeah, and
about.
the question, would it have mattered if they knew? That's the thing. That's how divided I think we are. If they knew that he was doing these things, would they have stood against him because he's on the other side? See, this division we have is simply one of labels.
This whole solution, I think and we're talking about the solution, part of the solution needs to be that Congress needs to have a communication portal so the average citizen can know who is filibustering what and who is actually presenting good ideas and who's presenting good solutions and why are people pushing back on it, and then really hear their mindset or their belief as to why they should not support something. And that would cause the average person, the average citizen, the voter, to be able to make a more informed decision come voting day. Because if you just have somebody sitting there like the Queen of Hearts off with his head, or no, instead of finding some common ground, I love that phrase that he uses, then we could make some decisions come voting time and vote some people out that don't want to make progress. Some people just want to keep being reelected. That's it. They're not making progress.
It's true.
And the citizens need to do something about it.
That's true. All right, so we're going to come back after this break with more common sense, common ground. Tim Scott, as soon as we come back after this break.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
We're back here, Talk About Unity. Today we've got the Tim Scott special, where we're talking about Tim Scott's common sense and common ground speech. That's the way it would be titled, I think. That's the one that he gave in response to the president's address to Congress on last week. And so we're analyzing that. We call our show today Dissecting the Division. So we want to talk about that. And in that last clip we played, and we want to cover that just a second before we play our final clip, Tim Scott made this statement, which is a great quote, I think. He talked about the fact, and this goes right along with my race. We're race people here, and so this goes into that vein. So put on your race glasses as you begin to watch what we're talking about here. All right, he said, 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught that the color of their skin was their most important characteristic.
Wow.
And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again.
Hmm.
Man, that's really deep because that's true. I mean, and we're going to create this ideology amongst our kids, the next generations. And that's why I keep telling people think that race will go away because things are changing because we got more interracial marriages and things like that. I was like, that's not going to change minds though, because we can still, I had Beckett up here. Beckett is what most people would call biracial, and so people would classify him today and say, well, because you're black because you got one drop or what, all this, crazy ideas, He's the parent.
You know what Beckett is?
Human.
He's Beckett.
He's human. Like he said,
human.
I'm Beckett.
He's human. He says, I'm Beckett. I'm
yeah,
Beckett.
He's human.
That's who Beckett is.
He's human.
That's
and
right.
so, all right. Well, let's get ready. Go ahead and let's get ready for this last clip. And then we'll wind it up on Dissecting Division here today on Talk About Unity. So, Vince, go ahead and play that final clip and we'll get rolling.
Good evening. About civil rights or our racial past. It's about rigging elections in the future. And no, the same filibuster that President Obama and President Biden praised when they were senators, the same filibuster that the Democrats used to kill my police reform bill last year has not suddenly become a racist relic just because the shoe is now on the other foot. Race is not a political weapon to settle every issue the way one side wants. It's far too important. This should be a joyful springtime for our nation. This administration inherited a tide that had already turned. The coronavirus is on the run. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed and the Trump administration, our country is flooded with safe and effective vaccines. Thanks to our bipartisan work last year, job openings are rebounding. So why do we feel so divided? Anxious. A nation with so much cause for hope should not feel so heavy laden. A president who promised to bring us together should not be pushing agendas that tear us apart. The American family deserves better, and we know what better looks like. Just before COVID, we had the most inclusive economy in my lifetime, the lowest unemployment rates ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians, and a 70-year low nearly for women. Wages were growing faster at the bottom than at the top. The bottom 25% saw their wages go up faster than the top 25%. That happened because Republicans focused on expanding opportunity for all Americans. In addition to that, we passed opportunity zones, criminal justice reform, and permanent funding for historically black colleges and universities for the first time ever. We fought the drug epidemic, rebuilt our military, and cut taxes for working families and single moms like the one that raised me. Our best future will not come from Washington schemes or socialist dreams. It will come from you, the American people, black, Hispanic, white, and Asian, Republican and Democrat, brave police officers in black neighborhoods. We are not adversaries. We are family. We are all in this together, and we get to live in the greatest country on earth. The country where my grandfather in his 94 years saw his family go from cotton to Congress in one lifetime. So I am more than hopeful. I am confident that our finest hour is yet to come. Original sin is never the end of the story, not in our souls and not for our nation. The real story is always redemption. I am standing here because my mom has prayed me through some really tough times. I believe our nation has succeeded the same way because generations of Americans in their own ways have asked for grace and God has supplied it. So I will close with a word from a worship song that really helped me through this past year of COVID. The music is new, but the words draw from Scripture. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you. In your weeping and your rejoicing, he is for you. May his favor be upon our nation for 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children. Good night, and God bless the United States of America.
Wow.
And that was great. Yeah, it does make you say wow at the end there. That was really good at the end there. And he talked about, the biggest question that's got to be answered is, with so much hope, why are we so divided? What do you think? As we dissect this division, because as we sum up and close out the show here, with so much hope, why are we so divided?
It's the powers that be, the Wizard of Oz guy behind the curtain pulling the levers. Yeah, it's really this small group of controlling entities, whether it's social media giants or politicians or others that really want to stab at the heart of the American experience. And as long as they can keep us fighting, the more they get to stay in power. So we need to realize, flip the script. Let's knock the chess pieces off the table and come together. Really, it's all about let's step away from the enemy's plan, which is to hate each other. And let's find, like Tim keeps saying, find the common ground. Let's find some things to celebrate. And really, what I started out with today is I believe the greatest weapon we can use today to make things better quickly is honor. Let's honor up those that are above us, whether it's in jobs or in the family hierarchy. Honor down. Let's find the generation younger than us. Catch them doing something right and celebrate it. Tell them good job, whether it's they're working versus just hanging around doing non-meaningful stuff. But
what do you think he was alluding to as he talked about original sin ends in redemption? I love that line. He talked about how original sin ends in redemption.
I think,
what's he trying to say there?
Okay, so I believe he's in a subtle way addressing this whole divisive bomb of the 1619 project that is trying to be pushed into our school systems, where the original sin of America was slavery, and it goes back to 1619. Okay, we can call that our original sin. But really, the bottom line is there's an answer to that original sin.
So he's saying redemption. Even if that's true,
even if it's true,
you need to know the end, right? What's the purpose? Yeah.
But the end is redemption. Let's head back to what Martin Luther King said. I have a dream that all of our kids can play together, and we don't judge people based on the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And
there's of course, I'm here with Pastor Richard, so I refer to him Pastor Richard when I'm going to draw upon his theology, because, by the way, slavery is not the original sin. No, that is not the original sin that's talked about.
Believe in a lie. That's what it was.
Yeah. So anyway, but the thing is, and it's the thing we were alluding to earlier, we're talking about we got to see the purpose in pain. We got to see the purpose in our past. Yes. We got to understand there's someone greater who has determined that this thing that you thought was bad is actually working out for good. And so I'm almost preaching Richard's sermon here. So, all right.
Romans 5:8. It says, God demonstrates his own love towards us, that while we were yet sinners, he sent Jesus to pay the price for our sin and our separation. Our salvation is secure when we believe in him.
Vince, cue that organ, cue that Hammond organ.
There's redemption for you and for your children, for your children's children. He goes before you, behind you, around you, in you, through you, in spite of you. That
was good. All right, so we're going to close out our show today. Thank you all for being here today. There was a lot of other negative things that came about as a result of Tim Scott's speech. And one of the things that really was painful to hear how people name call him.
Oh.
They name call him. If you have a different view, and this goes for, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what stage of life you're in, if you are different than the crowd, if you're going against the flow, and especially if you're going against the flow on your principle and upon things of because of your character, then people will call you names.
That's right.
They're going to call you a lot of things. Stay the course. Stay the course, because that's how character and principle wins in this country. Right. Core values are going to be the thing that make us rise, and so you need to stay there. So go ahead and final words, and we'll be out of here.
We're going to build some character muscles. We're going to confront this hate in America, one relationship at a time, one moment at a time. Smile. Before you don't expect a smile, you smile first. You be kind first. You say the right thing first. Be quick to forgive. Be quick to let things go. If you get triggered by something, you need to hurry up and run to the why does that bother me so much? Maybe there's something stirring inside of you to make it a point of action to where it doesn't bother you so much anymore. Be a part of the solution, like Tim says, instead of a part of the problem.
And so that does it for our show this week. We thank you all for joining us. Catch us next week on Talk About Unity here at the Edge Radio Network. We'll see you then.